Hi, this is Brittany Evans. I just came to report back on the data source of journals. When looking at the first question, how would you describe this data collection technique and what processes and procedures are unique to this technique? I considered the three types of journals. I first looked at teacher journals, which are professional reflections of teachers' narratives on their practices. I also looked at student journals in which students are given questions or asked to reflect upon a certain activity or event, and teachers can gain a sense of students' daily thoughts, perceptions, and experiences in the classroom. I also looked at class journals, and class journals are less formal. They can be given during station or independent work where the whole class would respond within one journal. They could respond back and forth to one another or in regards to a certain prompt. What makes each of these journals unique is that they are current in the moment perspective and understanding of a certain group of people. So it could be the teacher, or it could be the students individually, or the class as a whole. Question 2, is it qualitative or quantitative technique, and what types of question would this technique best answer? This is a qualitative perspective, or technique rather. Qualitative data are narrative, and that is exactly what journals are. Regardless of them being about events, they're translating from the physical environment to the written illustrated text, or thoughts and feelings where they're translating from inner psyche to the written platform. They're all narrative in nature. When you're thinking about teachers and even students, it's a systematic reflection of what is going on in the physical or psyche world, and converting that into a written form. The purpose of journals is to examine, and they fit under the group of examine, which is the using and making of records. So if you were developing certain questions in your research, they would need to be based on daily observations and analysis, reflections, and record keeping in order for journals to be considered as an option for your data collection. Question 3, what are some strengths with this data collection technique? And what are some weaknesses? So some of the strengths I found were that it's a valuable window into the student's world. Teachers can gain information about students' changing thoughts, their new ideas, and their progression of learning through the words and the illustrations that the students leave for the teachers to view. It also allows us to revisit. If it's recorded and it's written down, you can go back and you can look, you can analyze and evaluate, which is extremely beneficial when you're considering research and being able to, have the students write in the moment, but then go back and take a look at it when you have more time to go through each of their journals. Another important thing is that journals can be ongoing, especially the teacher journals, which can allow you to reflect throughout the day, throughout the year, and then use those reflections in a way to reconstruct and benefit other students that are coming, or even the students that you have currently. One of the weaknesses would definitely be perspective. In Mills, on page 127, he said that journals have importance for the writer. So if you are examining somebody else's journal, it could be misinterpreted, or the question could have been read from one view, and you had expected or anticipated to be read from another view. So just having that openness can lead to misinterpretation or misunderstanding on both the teacher and the student perspective. Question 4, what concerns do you have about this data collection technique from a validity, reliability, and or ethical perspective? Validity measures what it's intended to measure. So does the researcher want to measure daily observations, analysis, reflections, and record keeping? If the answer is no, then this would not be a tool that they would want to consider for their data collection. In terms of the trustworthiness, we need to look at the credibility and dependability. From the credibility aspect, it's the actual words and illustrations of the students. So if they're the perspective that you want to gain from, then yes, it would be credible. However, if you're just looking at the teacher journal, then the teacher has a viewpoint that may be different from the participants or the students. So depending on whose perspective you're looking at that from, that would depend on the credibility. Dependability, it's actually really great because you have the ability to record changes and effects in journals as you're systematically reflecting. So it's in the moment information, which can definitely help showing how something might have changed throughout your research and how it could have affected your students. From an ethical perspective, you would have to think about what questions and prompts are being addressed within the journals. And the other thing I thought about was whose eyes can view the journals, especially the teacher journal, in terms of confidentiality and making sure only the eyes that are supposed to be on those documents are the only ones that are looking. Thank you for listening. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them on the discussion board. Thank you.